From time to time, a metaphor arrives that changes the way we see our work. It doesn't announce itself loudly, it simply settles in and begins to reorganize things quietly. That happened to me recently while reading the writings of the 16th century mystic Saint Teresa of Avila. She describes the human soul as an interior castle, a castle made up of many mansions or rooms, and she suggests that the spiritual life unfolds as we move deeper into that castle, passing through these rooms of awareness, honesty, surrender, and ultimately union. It's a beautiful image. But what struck me most was how closely it resembles what I was experiencing happening in memoir writing, even my own. And in my classes, I noticed that when we begin writing about our lives, we tend to think of it as a literary task. I do particularly because that was my academic subject at one time. But we imagine we're simply, remembering events, shaping stories, arranging scenes. But something else always begins to happen. We're invited into a different kind of attention. Memories surface that we haven't visited for years. Contradictions begin to appear in how we understand ourselves. And certain moments, small ones, begin to glow with an unexpected kind of meaning. In other words, writing a life story, well, it becomes something more. It becomes a kind of exploration. Not so much a chronological one, but an interior one. Over time, I've observed my students moving through stages. They begin by simply noticing moments that mattered. And then they begin to write more honestly about those moments. And gradually, they start to see patterns, connections between experiences that weren't visible before. What begins as writing becomes reflection. And that reflection often touches the physical, emotional, and even spiritual dimensions of a life. When I came back to Teresa's image of the interior castle, something clicked for me. Memoir writing unfolds in a similar way. We move through rooms, each room revealing something new. And the process is rarely dramatic. In fact, it's usually quiet. Memory becomes clearer. Story begins to take shape. Meaning emerges slowly. It doesn't appear all at once. It reveals itself room by room. Over the past few weeks, this realization has been quietly influencing my work. It's changing how I think about memoir writing, and how I work with the people I teach. I began to experiment with a way of approaching life writing as a contemplative journey, one that unfolds through different qualities of reflection. Still early, but I'm listening to it. I'm feeling my way into it. Now, I wouldn't claim to be an expert in the life or theology of St. Teresa. I do find her metaphor a very compelling doorway, a way of thinking about memoir writing, not just a storytelling, but a kind of inner journey. So, perhaps memoir writing at its best is not simply the telling of events. Perhaps it's a gentle exploration of the rooms that we all carry within us. Well, over the coming weeks, I'll be sharing more about this idea. And if this way of thinking speaks to you, you'd be very, very welcome to join me.